Subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon to never miss any update from Rouse IAS Study Circle. Join the only official Telegram channel of Rouse IAS Study Circle to get the relevant materials and important updates. Hello and welcome to the Daily News Simplified, the what, why and how of the newspaper analysis from the Civil Service Examinations perspective. So today we are going to discuss the Hindu Delhi edition dated 2nd May 2022. The topics to be discussed have been displayed on your screen and the timestamping of the same has been provided in the description box below. First of all, there is an important announcement for all of you. It is kindly informed that there will be no DNS tomorrow on the auspicious day of Eid ul Fitr. I want to wish that this Eid brings blessings for the entire humanity so that we can walk on the path of peace and harmony. Eid Mubarak. So now let us begin with our discussion. Our first topic is in relation to the jute industry and the issues which are presently being faced in the state of West Bengal. This particular topic has appeared on the text and the context page, and the context of this very news article is in front of you. Now the context of this article is little bit technical related to the financial issues of jute industries. However, as far as our syllabus is concerned, we will in this session know about the conditions which are responsible for the jute growth, the state-wise distribution of the jute industries in India, what are the reasons behind high concentration of the jute mills in Hugli basin, the cross-country comparison between India as well as the other leading countries, as well as the issues which are being faced by the Indian jute mills. But before that, first we will understand the context of this very news article. So there was a notification in September 2021 which mandated that no entity, that is the jute mills, would be allowed to purchase or sell the raw jute at a price exceeding rupees 6,500 per quintal. Now this was the cap which was put on the jute purchase and sell. The jute mills are now procuring the raw jute at prices higher than rupees 6,500. Now why are they procuring at a higher price? Because what happens is that the present situation is that the jute mills do not procure the jute directly from the farmers. However, in the middle they have intermediaries. So intermediaries provide services to the jute mills and in return they also charge them. And now because the supply chain of the jute is hit hard, these intermediaries are charging higher prices, and that is why the jute mills are forced to provide higher prices to these intermediaries. And that is why it goes in negation to the September 2021 notification which capped the price of rupees 6,500 per quintal. As far as the UPSC's scheme of syllabus is concerned, this topic will fall under the General Studies Maize Paper 1 in the section of Geography, as well as the micro section of the factors responsible for the location of the primary, secondary and tertiary industry. Now first let us look at the conditions which are responsible for the jute growth. There are two main conditions. First is the climatic conditions and other is the biogeographic conditions. The climate which is required for the jute crop to grow in a good manner is warm and wet climate. The temperature need is around 20 to 40 degrees Celsius. The area must experience around 70 to 80% of relative humidity. That means that the atmosphere of that particular area must be moist. And 5 to 8 centimeters of the weekly rainfall. This is the average rainfall. In some weeks it might be higher than this, in other weeks it might be lower than this, but this is the average weekly rainfall is 5 to 8 centimeters. So these are the climatic conditions. Similarly, there are biogeographic conditions. For example, the soil most suitable for the jute crop is the alluvial soil. Now we all know that alluvial soils are the ex-situ soils which are formed due to deposition of the alluvial sediments which are brought down by the rivers. So in the plain areas where we have rivers, we will be having alluvial soils. And second is the standing water conditions. That means that jute is a water-loving, water-intensive crop and it requires a lot of water. Now if you have understood the climatic and biogeographic conditions, now let us look at the state-wise comparison of the jute in India. This map shows top 10 jute producing states in India. Now what you have to do is you just have to remember the climate and the biogeographic conditions, and you superimpose this knowledge on the India's map. Now we have the state of West Bengal as the leading producer of the jute in India. Why? Because here we have warm and wet climate. The temperature is around 20 to 40 degrees Celsius. We have moist atmospheric conditions. We have high rainfall because of the proximity to the Bay of Bengal region as well as the southwest monsoon. Then we have delta region. Then we have the biggest delta region in this particular state. That means very high concentration of alluvial deposits. Moreover, the coastal areas have waterlogged conditions. That means there is a huge standing water availability. So all these conditions are met in the state of West Bengal, and that is why it is the largest jute producer in India. On second, we have Bihar. On third, we have Assam. Then we have Andhra. Then we have Odisha, and so on. From the examinations perspective, you must remember at least first three states, that is West Bengal, followed by Bihar, followed by Assam. Now we have learned that what are the natural conditions which favor the jute growth in a particular region. Now these conditions are for the jute crop. Now we must also understand and know the conditions for jute industry, because jute crop is the raw material for that industry, and that is one of the locational factor of the jute industry. However, there are other factors also, and that is why we will look all those factors and will come to know that what are the reasons for the high concentration of the jute mills in the Hugli basin. Hugli river, that is the state of West Bengal. Now, because all the locational factors which are responsible for building and strengthening a jute industry are present in the Hugli basin. For example, proximity to the raw material. The Ganga Brahmaputra delta grows about 73% of India's jute. We have already discussed this aspect. And because the Hugli basin is in proximity to that particular region, so that is why jute industries are also concentrated there only. Second is proximity to the energy sources. Any industry needs a continuous supply of energy source for its continuous working. And the Hugli Basin region is near to the Raniganj coal fields. Next is the good transportation network in order to strengthen the backward as well as forward linkages. And the state of West Bengal has almost all the major modes of transportation, that is roads, rails as well as waterways. Further, as we have discussed that it has a humid climatic conditions, this humid climate is good for spinning and weaving of the jute. Further, proximity to the port such as Kolkata port provides easy services for greater export and import facilities. Now we all know that this particular region also have a very high population density. That means there is a huge demand, a huge market. So that is why the high demand is also near to this particular area. And moreover, historically, the capitalist class is also concentrated in the state of West Bengal. The Kolkata is one of the major financial hubs of our country, and that is why the capital availability allows the prospering of large industries in this particular area. Now, in continuation with this, we must also know the cross country comparison of India as well as other countries. According to the FAO, India is the largest producer of jute, followed by Bangladesh, followed by China. But when it comes to the acreage and trade, Bangladesh shares around 3/4 of the global share, whereas India dominates only 7% of the global share. The reason is that India has certain challenges and Bangladesh has certain advantages. First is Bangladesh has superior quality of jute, and this is one of the biggest challenge which Indian jute industry face, that is the poor quality of the raw material available. Second is we lack in infrastructure, but Bangladesh have a better infrastructure. They have better farm mechanization. But in India, we know that because of the high population density, the per capita availability of farmland is very low. Moreover, the state of West Bengal, Andhra, Odisha, Bihar, UP, they have very low per capita income, and that is why they cannot invest huge amount in farm mechanization services. Next, Bangladesh have invested highly in certified seeds, and this is one of the biggest reason behind the superior quality of the jute. Further, the agroclimatic conditions of Bangladesh are far more better compared to India because Bangladesh has more humid climate, they have more standing water, they have more delta. So all these conditions favor Bangladesh vis-a-vis India. So this was all about the jute industry in India. Now let us briefly revise this topic once again. First, we looked at the conditions responsible for the jute crop, that is, the climate must be warm and wet, as well as the alluvial soil is the most perfect soil for the jute crop. Then we looked at the cross country comparison and we saw that West Bengal leads the jute production in our country. Then we discussed that what are those reasons which are behind the high concentration of the jute mills in the Hugli basin. And we looked at the natural as well as the human reasons behind this. And these very reasons are the locational factors behind the jute industries. Then we came to the cross country comparison, and in this very context, we also looked at certain issues which Indian jute industry face, which is in the terms of poor quality of jute availability, lack of adequate infrastructure as well as farm mechanization, lack of certified seeds, and restricted agroclimatic conditions in few areas only. Moving with our next topic, which has appeared on page number 7. This topic is in relation to the Ayush industry, and the topic reads Invigorating the Ayush industry. So, the context of this very article is the financial aspect, the potential of the Ayush industry globally as well as in India. The news article mentions certain data which will be relevant for you to answer questions relevant to this topic in your mains. This article says that the global market for the herbal medicine was valued at around $657 billion in 2020. And moreover, in recent times, the market has expanded. For example, if we take the particular case of Indian herbal medicine market, which is around $18 billion, has grown by 17% between 2014 to 2020. Correspondingly, in China, the traditional medicine industry had total revenue of $37 billion in 2018. In this very regard, in today's session, we will look at certain key facts related to the National Ayush Mission, as well as the recent government initiatives in this very regard. So, the National Ayush Mission is an old mission which was launched in 2014 under the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. This mission has a certain defined concrete functions, like it aims at delivering the cost-effective services. It also caters to the educational reforms in the Ayush medicine systems. Further, it is also tasked with the controlling the drugs quality, the herbal medicines, etc. Then it is also tasked to ensure the sustainable availability of the raw materials. And in order to fulfill this availability of raw materials, it is also tasked with the plant cultivation on farmers' land. For example, the plants which have medicinal values. Further, this mission is also associated with the management of the post-harvest ecosystem. That is, ensuring the forward linkages connecting the farm to the industries as well as market. In this very regard, government has taken certain initiatives recently. For example, the government has launched 4,000 crore package for cultivation of herbal plants on around 75,000 acres of farmland. Further, government has also announced various subsidy slabs, for example, 30% subsidies, 45% subsidies, 75% subsidies on various medicinal products. In association with the WHO, government has established the Global Center for Traditional Medicines in Jamnagar. And further, Niti Aayog has recently constituted a committee in order to dwell deeper into analyzing the various aspects and components of the Ayush industry and come up with suggestions in order to boost and sustain this high value industry. So now this topic has appeared at page number 7, and the topic reads Funding Woes Haunt the Indian Science. Now this topic is in relation to the India's R&D status, and in link with this an important body, that is National Research Foundation. In today's session we are going to discuss this topic mainly from the prelims point of view, And that is why we will look into the factual details of this particular topic. As far as the UPSC's prelim syllabus is concerned, this topic directly falls under the section of the social sector initiatives. The reason being, this R&D is mainly associated with the education and research area, which falls in the social sector of planning. So in line with this, first of all, we will discuss the present status of the India's R&D. Now, there are certain issues which are plaguing the India's research and development sector. The first is that India's R&D is mainly led by the public sector. Whenever you read about the major inventions or research and development programs being run in our country, most of them are associated with some public sector organizations or public sector undertakings. And that is why it is said that India have poor private investment in the sector of research and development. Now, because there is a dominance of the public sector and absence of the private sector, we face issues like red tapeism, funds crunch, lack of competitiveness, etc. The second major issue is that budgetary allocations, though, are made continuously every year, but in recent times, the budgetary allocation in research and development sector has seen a continuous downward trend. Further, this budgetary allocation is also highly skewed in favor of certain departments while ignoring the other departments. And here is the third issue, the skewed allocation. It is seen that there are several departments, for example, Indian Council of Agricultural Research or Indian Council of Medical Research, that is ICMR, or Department of Biotechnology. These organizations are not adequately financed, and most of the budget allocation goes to the organizations like DRDO or ISRO. And because of all these issues, if we look at the fourth important component, which is the cross-country comparison, we will be better able to compare our expenditure, our investment in R&D vis-a-vis other important countries like China, US, Israel. For example, the data from the Economic Survey of India 2017 to 18 shows that India spends only 0.7% of its GDP in research and development. But the contrary figure of China is 2.1%, USA is 2.8%, and Israel is 4.3%. Similarly, we have to compare the researchers per lakh population, that is how much researchers we have in our country per lakh of population. In India, we have just 15 researchers, in China, we have 111, and in USA, we have 423. And this is directly related to the total patent applications also. In India, the total patent applications is around 45,000, whereas in China, it is around 13 lakh. In USA, it is around 6 lakh. So the point is that if we have global ambitions to become a superpower, it will not be possible for us to achieve that particular dream until and unless we increase our investment in research and development. Important reforms must be taken in order to boost our R&D structure, and in this very line, the government had come up with the National Research Foundation. Now, National Research Foundation was the idea of the Principal Scientific Advisor K. Vijay Raghavan, which now has taken its real shape. National Education Policy 2020 mentions the National Research Foundation as an autonomous body, and this NRF has clear-cut objectives. First, it will boost the overall research ecosystem and will integrate the segregated compartments which are working in silos in our country in the sector of research. Second, it aims to promote peer-reviewed research funding. Third, it will state as well as central universities as well as institutions. We all know that presently most of inventions and innovations come from certain public sector undertakings or certain premier institutions, for example IITs or NITs. Now this NRF aims to integrate other universities, engineering as well as medical institutions into a one tight compartment, thereby linking all the major institutions which are working in this particular area. And the last important thing is that why are we restricting our innovations or research programs in the area of science only? Why are not we targeting in social sciences and humanities? And that is why NRF have four key areas where it will look for the research and development. The first is the science, second technology, third social sciences, as well as fourth humanities. Now, the researches in humanities are also very important in order to understand our complex human physiology, in order to understand our complex Indian society, diversity, traditions, customs, their impact on social bonding, social capital. All these things must be researched in order to build a better society. So that is why NRF has a very wide areas of operation, and hence it is designed as an autonomous body which is tasked with reforming the overall research ecosystem in our country. This topic has appeared on page number 1 and is in relation to the eShram portal. Now this is a very famous portal and most of you must have already heard and read about it. However, in today's session we will revise certain factual details regarding to the eShram portal. This topic falls under the preliminary syllabus of social sector initiatives because this portal was launched in order to tackle the problems and woes of the workers working in the unorganized sector. And that is why we will look certain factual informations regarding this eShram portal. First of all, we need to know that this portal was launched by the Labour Ministry to register the unorganized workers. Now, we all know that unorganized workers face several challenges, and the root cause of all those challenges and issues is that they are not registered in some formal documents. That is why it is very difficult to track them. It is very difficult to provide subsidies or other welfare schemes to reach up to them. That is why it is necessary that their data must be stored in some formal document. And for this portal was started. Now, by this portal, the workers will be issued the eShram card as well as 12-digit unique number. This database includes multiple types of workers like construction workers, migrant workers, gig and platform workers, street vendors, domestic workers, agriculture workers, and similar other subgroups of unorganized worker sections. It is said that once any worker has registered himself or herself on the eShram portal, they need not to register separately for government social security schemes. Now we will look at certain predefined objectives of the eShram portal as well as the benefits of eShram. First, we will look at the objectives. First is that it aims to integrate these various social security schemes of the government, for example, Pradhan Mantri Swasthya Bima Yojana, Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Aadhar Yojana, etc. Second, it aims to provide a comprehensive database for the central as well as state governments for tackling any national crisis like COVID-19 in future. We all are witness to this tragedy which took place in the backdrop of COVID-19 induced migration. The most severely hit section was of the unorganized workers, and that is why it is said that it aims to provide a database for the governments in order to tackle the future crisis. And in this very line, it also aims to ascertain the status and address current location of migrant workers. Now, one of the biggest issues which migrant workers face that from season to season they change their address and location and it becomes very difficult to track them. Next is it will also ascertain the movement of the workers from formal to the informal sector because many a times it happens that because of job losses, many workers who were previously in the formal segment are forced to shift to the informal segment. But for the policymakers, it is very essential to track this particular movement. And next is the portability of the welfare benefits to migrant as well as construction workers. Now, if all these objectives are fulfilled, we must also know the benefits associated with eShram. First is that it will be acceptable across the country, and that is why the workers will not have to go under the cumbersome process of registering themselves once they shift from one place to another. It also has the accidental insurance coverage through Pradhan Mantri Swasthya Bima Yojana for 1 year, rupees 2 lakh for accidental death and permanent disability, and rupees 1 lakh for the partial disability. Social security benefits will be delivered through this single point portal, and it will be very helpful for the state as well as central governments, which we have already discussed during the calamities or pandemics. So that was all about the eShram portal. You must remember that it is mainly linked to the unorganized workers, and this is a single point window platform where all the problems of the unorganized workers are tackled. Now, this is a very brief topic and has appeared on page number 12. This topic is in relation to the railway restructuring. However, in this particular news article, there is a very important key term known as Sreshtha. The context of this particular topic is that government is going ahead with its downsizing plan. Now, because we know that our railways face several issues, and one of the major issues is the lack of funds available to our railways. There is a huge financial burden on our railways, and they are facing a continuous losses. And that is why several expert committees have suggested to downsize the railways ecosystem. And in this very regard, Indian Railways has announced the closure of the Sreshtha. Now, Sreshtha stands for the Special Railway Establishment for Strategic Technology and Holistic Advancements. From the preliminary examinations perspective, every year there are certain questions which are terminology based. And that is why here we must know that what is Sreshtha. And in this very regard, there is also one important term, that is Sutra. Now, both of these steps were started by the government of India in the year 2016 to 17 in order to reform our railways. But now they have decided to close this Sreshtha. Now, Sreshtha, as we have learnt through its full form, that is Railway Establishment for Strategic Technology and Holistic Advancement. Sreshtha is the R&D organization which is aimed to serve the future technology needs of the railways. That means Sreshtha was designed in order to have long-term planning in railways research, and that is why it was believed that it is formed in order to conduct in-house researches. So Sreshtha is clear. It was the R&D organization in order to have long-term planning and to conduct in-house researches. The Sutra is the world-class data analytics, simulation softwares, network optimization and decision support systems. This Sutra is also in relation to the railways only. So in today's session, we will restrict ourselves to these two key important terms which are relevant from the prelims perspective. So now is the time for the question of the day. The question asked in yesterday's DNS was in relation to the lithium ion batteries. The question asked you to find the correct statements out of the given two statements. The statement 1 was lithium ion battery can function only on the liquid electrolyte. Now this statement is incorrect. Statement 2 was in majority of the lithium ion fire cases separator remains the major cause. This statement is correct, and hence the correct answer is option B, that is 2 only. The question from today's DNS is in relation to the India's R&D ecosystem. There are two statements and you have to find the correct statement. The statement 1 says India has one of the highest expenditures in R&D globally, and the statement 2 says National Research Foundation, which is tasked to reform the R&D ecosystem, was a brainchild of Dr. Abdul Kalam. Option A, 1 only. Option B, 2 only. Option C, both 1 and 2. Option D, neither 1 nor 2. So that's all for today. All the very best. Study hard.